Hello everyone. So this is UPSC History Optional and Paper 1. And we are moving on to topic 2, that is prehistory and proto-history. Again, the topic itself, like if you see this part here, it looks smaller as compared to the sources. But if you see in general, if you see it literally, it is the biggest portion because Paleolithic period, if you talk about Paleolithic, and we'll talk about it one by one when we're talking the Stone Age, then you will realize that Paleolithic period, it is comprising almost 99% of human prehistory. 99% of human prehistory. So it's a very large period. But again, then we have to read from the perspective of what UPSC is asking, right? So let's go and let's start one by one. What is prehistory? What do you understand by the term prehistory? What do you understand by the term proto-history? If you, most of the people, 99% of the people, or let's decrease it further, like 99 is too big. Let's say 90 to 95% of the people who have history optional, they don't even know the basic difference between prehistory and proto-history. If they know it wrong. So what do you think? What is prehistory? What is the basic meaning of the term prehistory? When we are saying prehistory, what do we mean by that? So basically, it is the study of the period before the invention of writing. So that is a very long period before the invention of writing. So you can understand when we're talking about sources, we're talking about literary and archaeological sources. So there we are talking about that literary source has to be complemented with archaeological source. But when we talk about prehistory, it's almost everything archaeological, right? Because there's no writing before the invention of writing. So that long period, that enormously long period before the invention of writing and the study of that particular period, that is known as prehistory. That is fine. So now the basic confusion here is in proto-history. If you search different sources, if you read from different books, they have simplified it very like they have given one single definition. That is not true. It has different meanings. This proto-history term, it has different meanings. So what are the different meanings of proto-history? What do you understand by proto-history? So different meanings here is, one is there in European context, what European people think about proto-history. Then one is about Indian context, what Indian subcontinent defines proto-history as. And then the third point is from the view of archaeologists. What do they think about and what have they bracketed in proto-history? So what are they thinking? What is Europeans thinking about proto-history? What are they thinking about proto-history? So according to them, in European context, this whole proto-history term is used to refer to people who did not themselves have writing. Please try to understand it, but who are mentioned in written records of contemporary literate groups. So meaning here is, let's try to understand what is European context. Let's say we have some tribes in Andaman who don't write. But we people do write, right? And we are continuously talking about them, that there are some groups in Andamans who do not like human presence. If you go there, they will kill you because they have to protect themselves. They are very few in numbers. So we are talking about them. Maybe they don't have any writing stuff. Maybe they don't know how to write. So this is what is proto-history in the terms of Europeans. So in European context, I will reiterate what I've said earlier. In European context, this proto-history term is used to refer to people who did not themselves have writing, but they are mentioned in the written records of contemporary literate groups. That is the European context. I will show you some things. You can note it down if you're making your notes. So this is European context. What is Indian context? Like what is proto-history when we are talking about from the point of view of Indian subcontinent? So here in proto-history, we have also included Harappan civilization. See, in European context, we have said we have included those civilizations which did not have their own writing, but they are mentioned in contemporary literature of those groups who knew how to write. In Harappan civilization, can we say they did not know how to write? Like they have a script, man. They have their precious stones, steatite, and in all those things, they have written a script. They have a particular script. So they were a literate group, but we have not deciphered their script. So we are also keeping Harappan civilization in proto-history, which will not go in the definition of proto-history if we go by European context. Hope you're understanding this. So this is what Indian subcontinent proto-history is all about. Then the third point is from the point of view of archaeologists. What do archaeologists think about proto-history? So they are using this word proto-history, like what they're thinking is the long period, which is from the beginning of food production. So the long period from the beginning of food production to the period of iron technology, this whole thing, iron technology. If you remember, I have told you again and again, we'll keep on discussing it later on also when we're talking Mahajanpadas, around 6th century BC. we find that iron was used at a large scale, 6th, 7th century BCE. So from this whole food production period to iron technology period, what they're doing is they are keeping it in the proto-history period, archaeologists. So they often use the word proto-history for long period between beginning of food production and advent of iron technology. So now when we talk from the point of view of archaeologists, what according to them is proto-history? It's all Neolithic culture, because we'll talk about food production started in Neolithic culture, then Chalcolithic culture. The first metal which was used after food production was copper, and their culture is known as Chalcolithic culture. We'll talk about that. Iron came much later. So please don't mix. Iron came much, much later, let's say around 6th century BCE. We find evidence of copper around 3rd millennium BCE. Millennium, it is not century, 3rd millennium BCE. And don't worry about the spelling of millennium. 3rd millennium BCE, we are finding evidence of copper. So copper came first. Copper came first, then came iron. Do remember it. So Neolithic, Chalcolithic. Then there are certain non-Harappan Chalcolithic period. So it is said that when Harappan civilization was going on, at the same time, there were many Chalcolithic periods, Ahar culture, Banas culture, we'll talk about them, which was going on at the same time. So there was a copper civilization which was going hand in hand with the Harappan civilization. That is known as non-Harappan Chalcolithic culture. Non-Harappan Chalcolithic culture. So all these, according to archaeologists, they are in the category of proto-history. So now most of the people, they will talk about proto-history from European context. You have to talk about all the three contexts. What is proto-history according to European context? What is proto-history according to Indian context? And what is proto-history according to archaeological context or according to archaeologists? Now the term here is archaeologist. What is archaeologist? Who are archaeologists? Who will you say is an archaeologist? Ross Geller in France. Was he an archaeologist? Or what was he an archaeologist? No, he was a paleontologist. So find out the difference between paleontology and archaeology. Archaeologist means who study what? Human history and their culture. Who study human history and their culture. They are archaeologists. Find out what does paleontologist do? Human history and their culture. So now let's move on, sir and ma'am. So here, prehistory, geographical factors, hunting, gathering, Paleolithic, Mesolithic, beginning of agriculture, Neolithic and Chalcolithic. This is the syllabus, right? So this whole thing started with Stone Age. Stone Age, why it is known as Stone Age. Before we talk about that, let me show you something. So we have talked about this prehistory period. Do understand the basic difference between prehistory and proto-history. Prehistory, long period before the invention of writing and study of that period. That is called prehistory. Now in this slide, you can see this word Hellenic world, which is also sometimes known as Hellenistic world. What is Hellenistic world? No need, like you don't need to know it from history point of view, history optional point of view, but still just for interest. Sometimes what happens now, although you're preparing from UPSC history optional point of view, you get an interest in history and then you would go deep and deep and deep. That do it in your spare time. Don't waste your time right now when you're preparing for UPSC. Time is money, more important than money right now. So Hellenistic period is from 323 BCE to around 3130 BCE. Why this period? This period is associated with like 323 BCE. What happened at that time? Death of Alexander the Great. And remember, Mauryan Empire was established during that period only, death of Alexander the Great. And 31 BCE is the foundation of Roman Empire. So this is from the context of Greek people we are talking about, Hellenistic period. Death of Alexander the Great to Roman Empire. This whole period is known as Hellenistic period. No need for, like, that is not going to be asked in UPSC. I've just told you. Proto-history. This part we have just done. What is the meaning of proto-history? Most of the people will only talk about one, that is European context. People who do not have themselves have writing, but mentioned in contemporary groups. And we have just taken the example of, let's say, Andaman civilization, Andaman tribes, some of whom may not know writing, and we people. So here what we are doing is they do not know writing, but if let's say 100 years after, 200 years after, people have to read about Andaman tribes, they will read it from our context, what we were talking about Andaman tribes. So this in a way tells you something about what is proto-history from European context. In Indian subcontinent means the Indian subcontext, if we talk about, we are also including Harappan civilization, which had the writing, but the thing is we have not been able to decipher that script. Then archaeology and what they think about proto-history. This is a very broad definition. If we talk about from the point of view of archaeologists, everything they're including, food production, iron technology, that whole period. Let's say food production. If we say it started in 4000 BC, the food production thing. So from whole 4000 BC to 600 BC, this whole period, according to them, is a part of proto-history. Again, date will vary according to different sources, so don't worry about it. Just try to remember this definition, and when they ask you to differentiate between prehistory and proto-history, do write the different contexts, the different meanings. Now, let's come to the next part, that is Stone Age. Because if you go again back to the syllabus, so we now know the basic meaning prehistory, proto-history. Let's come to the Stone Age. So what is Stone Age and why it is known as Stone Age? Because they were using stone tools. Then we'll come to Iron Age. People were using iron equipments, right? Copper Age, Chalcolithic Age, copper equipment. So Stone Age, why it is known as Stone Age? Because they were using stone tools. This is the earliest age. If they ask you from Iron Age, Chalcolithic period, or Chalcolithic Age, Copper Age, Bronze Age, Stone Age, which came first? This came first. Stone Age is the earliest. Now, when did Stone Age start? Again, there are so many things, so many variations. Some people say it started 1.4 MYA. Some people say it started 3.4 MYA. Now, what is MYA? Million years ago, 1.4 million years ago, 3.4 million years ago. So there is a variation on the starting point. Most of them are converging on 3 MYA. That Stone Age started from 3 million years ago, when these guys, the civilization before us, Homo habilis, erectus, and all those guys, they started knowing how to make stone tools. So started, let's say, 3 million years ago. But there is a convergence point on when it ended, when the stone tool ended and people started using more advanced equipments. And that period is around between 4000 to 2000 BCE. Now, in some sources, now you will also see BP. Instead of BCE, now they will use BP. Don't get confused with BP. BP starts from 1950 AD. So it's different from BCE. BCE stands for, like, if you talk about BCE, the reference is 0 AD or 0 BCE, the Christ era. But BP first year starts from 1950 AD. So don't get confused between BP and BCE. They are not same. I'm just telling you for your own, like, so that you don't get confused between BP and BCE. Okay. So just a second, man. So we are talking about Stone Age and different periods. So it ended between 4000 to 2000 BC. Great. There are 3 parts of Stone Age, 3 basic division, and then those divisions are further divided. 3 parts of Stone Age. One is Paleolithic, Paleolithic, then Mesolithic, then Neolithic. So as you can see, all these are part of Stone Age. But why the period is changing? So many things are happening, but at the same time, stone tools are also becoming more smaller, like size of stone tools is getting smaller. Size of stone tools getting smaller, getting more refined, getting smaller, more refined. Just a second. Yeah. So we're talking about the Stone Age. So size of stone tools, I think, getting smaller and then more refined. We'll talk about what refined means, but I'm just giving you a basic idea. So Stone Age. So Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. In this particular Paleolithic, Mesolithic, and Neolithic, there are further division. Paleolithic is further divided. Paleolithic period is further divided into. Now here, most of the people get confused. I will tell you what is the confusion. Lower Paleolithic period, then Middle Paleolithic period, and then Upper Paleolithic period. These 3 divisions are there. Sometimes people confuse that lower Paleolithic period is the last, upper is the first. No, lower is the first period we're talking about. Lower Paleolithic period came first, then came Middle Paleolithic period, then came Upper Paleolithic period. And this whole Paleolithic portion, it occupies almost 99% of human prehistory. 99% of human prehistory. Now understand one thing, when we are talking about topic 2, that is this prehistory and proto-history, if you go back, if you go back and see previous year questions of history optional, you will realize that lesser number of theoretical questions are coming from it. But this topic is very important, actually, very important. Why it is important? When UPSC has not asked many questions, then in theory, why it is important? Because from map perspective, it is important. So many questions they will ask on Paleolithic side, Mesolithic side, then you can see Neolithic side. So this is very important from map perspective. Almost 50% or more map will be done from this topic 2 only. So that's why you have to do so much map practice when it comes to topic 2. So lower, middle, and upper Paleolithic period we're talking about. And this whole comprises 99% of human prehistory. And again, there is a divergence. When does Paleolithic period starts? When does it end? When does middle start? When does it end? But again, most of them converge on the point that this whole thing, three started like Paleolithic period started at 3 million years ago, 3 MYA, and it went on till 8,000 BCE. ठीक है? And then this is the whole period. Again, there's a convergence. Again, there will be data variation. UPSC is not going to ask you the periods or the dates, so it's fine. Then came the Mesolithic period. We'll try to distinguish the difference. Why, how we are distinguishing Paleolithic from Mesolithic. So according to various sources, they're converging on 8,000 to 5,000 BCE. But again, this is not uniform. This is different in Europe. In Europe, the period is different. In Indian subcontinent, the period is different. Again, this is a broader area, like where they are converging that in this period, both of the European side or the Asian side or the other continents, they were going through Mesolithic period. Then Neolithic period, 5,000 to 2,800 BC. Don't worry about the dates, man. Avoid writing dates in paper because there is too much confusion. Even historians, they don't know what is the convergence point. They keep on debating among themselves. I will tell you what to write and we'll understand it when we are discussing the questions also. So what we have discussed, what is the basic difference between this Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic? That size of tools, they are becoming smaller. Size of tools becoming smaller, more refined. Becoming smaller and more refined. So that is the basic point here, right? So this is what we are talking about. Stone Age, use of stone tools. These are the three parts: Paleolithic, Mesolithic, Neolithic. Paleolithic, lower first, then middle, then upper. Almost 99% of human prehistory. Then now what you have to understand is the difference between these three things: lower Paleolithic, then upper middle Paleolithic, and upper Paleolithic. So lower Paleolithic, what was happening in this period? Bigger stone pieces, they were being used. Bigger stone pieces were being used for hunting and gathering. In middle Paleolithic period, there was a technology which is known as Flake technology. They were using Flake technology. Flake technology. What is Flake technology? Whatever bigger stone pieces they had, now what they were doing were, they were removing the outer layer. They were removing the outer layer from the bigger stone pieces. And this outer layer removed was used as a equipment, was used as a tool. This is known as Flake technology, which was used in middle Paleolithic period. Then upper Paleolithic period, here they were using blade technology. Blade technology. Now you have very sharp tools in upper Paleolithic period. Sharp tools. Sharp edged tools. And how you were getting this sharp edged tools? I will want you people to watch a movie called Castaway. Tom Hanks is there. And here in that movie, his airplane crash and he is stranded on an island where nobody lives, and that shows you how to survive, and that will show you what people in the Paleolithic period or early age used to do. Same thing is being done by Tom Hanks. So how you create sharp tools when you don't have anything, you don't have advanced technologies, knives, etc. So what they used to do was they used to sharp one edge of the stone by hitting it with other stone. So that was used. That is shown very perfectly in Castaway. So I will, like, awesome movie, man. This is not at all boring. Very good movie. So now in this upper Paleolithic period, you're also finding bone tools. Tools made up of bones, right? And there are so many sites which are like Paleolithic sites. I will show you the map. There's one site which is very famous on which UPSC has asked two questions, like in UPSC 2017 and 2018. That is Attirampakkam. Attirampakkam. So this is the oldest known stone tool site in India. Do remember, this is very important. Very near to Chennai, 60 kilometers away from Chennai. Oldest known stone tool site in India. Stone tool site in India. So let me show you something. So Paleolithic period, Attirampakkam, 1.5 million year old tools found. And you can see the tools, how these tools were. What does it mean when we say sharp tools? Then flake technology, blade technology, you can use it when you're making your notes, right? Fine, man. So Attirampakkam, where is it located? If you see this Paleolithic site, this is my notes which I've scanned. So there are these sites I made, and I've written here 2017, 18. That means in both these years, this site was being asked. And this is Attirampakkam, very near to Chennai. My Chennai friends, if I'm pronouncing this word wrong, don't kill me virtually. So yes, and this is how you can also do map practice. sometimes I've seen where people do math practice in the same page, they write the names. Then how can you revise it? Let's say I have to revise it again. It's better if you write it on the back portion. What are the names? Like one is Chopani Mando Pesara, 14 you see Attirampakkam. And you can write some descriptions also, because you also have to write some descriptions, right? 20, 30 words. So Chennai district, lower, middle, upper Paleolithic, all the three phases are being found here in Attirampakkam. And one of the oldest prehistoric sites in South Asia. Fine. So let's keep until here only. In the next part, we'll talk about Mesolithic, Neolithic. We'll talk about some of the maps. We'll talk more about it. We'll see some previous year questions. We'll do all that, but in the next part. So take care, be blessed. Bye-bye.